Everybody all set? Good afternoon and welcome to the regular board meeting of the East Bay Regional Park District Board of Directors for February 21st, 2023. We're starting today at 1:04. Welcome to everyone. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Yes, President Waspy. Director Coffey.
Present.
Director Eccles.
Present.
Director Mercurio.
Here.
Director Rosario.
Here.
Director Corbett.
Here.
Director San Juan.
Here.
And President Waspy.
Here.
General Manager Landreth.
Here.
And Acting General Counsel Rosenberg.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Rosario, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. And Member Sanwó, would you do our land acknowledgement?
Yes. The East Bay Regional Park District's headquarters is located within Hushan territory on the unceded lands of the Ohlone Chochenyo speaking peoples who have continuously lived upon this land since time immemorial. The lands now encompassed within the boundaries of the East Bay Regional Park District are the ancestral territory of the Ohlone, Bay Miwok, and Delta Yokut. Today's Ohlone, Bay Miwok, and Delta Yokut people are thriving, vital members of the greater Bay Area community. They remain intrinsically connected to the land they have stewarded since time immemorial. So please join us in recognizing and honoring this land and their ancestors, elders, descendants, and all other members of their communities.
Thank you very much. So today's meeting is held pursuant to the Brown Act as amended by AB 361. Board members and staff may participate via phone, video conferencing. We are all here today and we welcome anyone else from anywhere else they're coming from. Our first item is approval of the agenda. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
A motion by Director Rosario and a second by Member Eccles. Any discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, would you take roll?
Yes, President Waspy. Director San Juan.
Yes.
Director Mercurio. Director Coffey.
Aye.
Director Rosario.
Aye.
Director Corbett. Director Eccles.
Aye.
And President Waspy.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll move to public comments and Madam Clerk, would you explain how folks can communicate with us? Via
Yes.
Public comments.
Yes, President Waspy. Public comments may be submitted one of three ways via email to publiccomment@ebparks.org, via voicemail at 510-544-2016, leaving a message which will be transcribed and given to the board and made a part of the public record, or simply by joining the meeting via the Zoom link, which is listed on the agenda, which was posted on the district's website. The submission of public comments was noticed on the agenda and in the board packet, and it was posted on the website on February the 16th, 2023. All emails received prior to the deadline of yesterday, Monday, February the 20th, have been distributed to the board and executive team. Any emails that have come in after this date will be organized and given to the board after this meeting. All public comments will be made a part of the public record.
All right, thank you. Have we received any emails or speaker cards from the public?
Actually, yes, President Waspy, we did receive an email from Mike Vandeman, and I do not see him on this call, but I believe everyone received a copy of that email.
Yes. And we all did. So
And we actually have speakers in the room and a couple of speakers on Zoom.
excellent. Let's begin with the speakers on Zoom.
Yes, President Waspy. Let's start with Mr. Andy Nalapan, sir.
This is Senthil Chidambaram actually, and he's also.
Oh, you're going to speak on behalf of Andy?
Yeah, I mean, we both are from the Concord Shivamurgan Temple Board of Directors. Yeah.
Okay, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
This is Senthil from the Concord Shivamuragan Temple Board, and I would like to thank the East Bay Park officials for supporting us to conduct the Thaipusam walk on February 4th, 2023 on the Iron Horse Trail. It was a good experience for our devotees. We came to know that the board members from another organization, Padayatra.org, attended East Bay Park's public meeting on February 7, 2023, questioning the approval process followed by the East Bay Park officials to our application. The purpose of the walk or the belief of the people walking on the trail or who walked on the trail on February 4th or for the Thaipusam celebrations, which is an Hindu religious function that's been followed more than 400 plus years, mostly in Southeast Asian countries. So it's obvious for an Hindu temple located in Concord, which is established in 1957, to celebrate this event here in the US. The other organization, Padayatra.org, used to conduct this walk in the past without any approval from the city of Concord or from the temple. This has caused liability and safety concerns for both the city of Concord and the temple. This also has caused confusion among the community on which entity is organizing the walk. So they donate to Padayatra.org and they reach out to the temple for tax receipts. Since the community is also walking to the temple, they think both the organizations are one and the same. In reality, they are not. So given all this, the temple has been working with the East Bay Parks for the last 3 years and directly involved in organizing the walk. Hence, in our opinion, East Bay Parks followed the correct process in approving our application to conduct this walk without any discrimination. We wanted to clarify this to the president and the board members here. Thank you for the opportunity to present our point of view. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for making a presentation and thank you for clearing that up. I'm glad we were of service to your group.
Okay.
Thank you. Sarah Lounsbury, you have 3 minutes, Sarah.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Sarah, and I've been an administrative specialist with the district for almost 7 years now. I want to comment today on telecommuting. I'm unhappy about the current policy, which the district finalized in August without backing from staff. The policy only lets us work from home 1 to 2 days per week maximum. There was no compromise, no negotiating, and no bargaining. It was simply an ultimatum. Sign what we are offering or take nothing. It seems like the telecommuting issue has fallen off the priority list for the district, like it is old news and we are moving on to other matters. But for me, it's top priority. It's all I think about. My morale is low and I feel disregarded. I do not know a single employee who is happy with the current telecommuting policy. Instead, when the issue is brought up, I hear frustration in the voices of my colleagues. Many of these feelings have boiled over and led to staff departures. For example, one colleague returned from parental leave, tried to abide by the new restrictive work from home policy, but then ultimately left feeling unsupported. Another decided to retire early instead of commute to the office 4 days a week. Another colleague said the new telecommuting policy was too inflexible, and so he resigned. And finally, another said she felt the policy was an indication of distrust in employees, and so she quit. I see the benefits of telecommuting as follows: happier staff, employee retention, employee recruitment, readiness in the event of other outbreaks, and an opportunity for the district to fulfill its very own climate smart initiative and policy from 2018. According to the district's website, the policy strives to, quote, mitigate and adapt to a changing climate wherever possible, including to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, end quote. Telecommuting is the perfect chance to demonstrate this. In conclusion, I'm requesting to work from home the majority of the week and come to the office 1 to 2 days per week. Board members, please help staff achieve this. Please have a hand in this, as there has been no improvement in the telecommuting policy for the last 6 months. Please do it for the environment and for employees. Without your direct involvement, I fear this issue will continue to be ignored. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
We're in the room. That's going to be Renee Patterson, followed by Kelly Abreu.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Renee Patterson. I'm an administrative analyst too. And I work here at Peralta Oaks on the 3rd floor. So I'm just here to remind you yet again that we AFSCME filed an unfair practice charge on August 26, 2022 with the State of California Public Employee Relations Board. This unfair practice charge was for bad faith bargaining, interference, direct dealing, and unilateral implementation. So this is in regards to the telecommute policy that some people say was put in place. I say it was never put in place, but whatever. So I will continue to come until this is resolved in some matter in a way that is appropriate with our union, AFSCME union. So I'll see you again at the next board meeting if it's not resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Kelly, Abreu, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Go down. Maybe it does go down. All right. So as we're this is effectively one of the annual overview or beginning of the year meetings, and time to step back and look at what's going on or what has been going on. And the issue of well, there's a catchphrase that I like to use. Comes out of the business schools. They teach it in the business schools now. It's a concept. Normalization of deviance. If you're looking at the that comes with operational reliability of the parks. Parks are not operationally reliable. You would think they are. We got thousands of acres of them, 100,000 acres of parks, and they're not operating reliably. Everyone assumes they are because we don't measure the non-reliability of parks. We don't measure the reliability of parks. We don't measure that parks were all closed in spring of 2020, not all, but many, especially the facilities for children, you know, little playgrounds, closed. Those are the first things that closed because of the dangerous spread of germs, you know. And then the Mission Peak, the special Mission Peak, special center of coronavirus. In January of 2021, there were high winds, closed a lot of parks up on the ridge lines. In September of 2022, an even larger proportion of parks, like nearly all of them, closed for fire danger. And now there's, about a month ago, many parks were closed for flooding, and some of them remain closed. But there is little oversight of these closures. You know, we're looking past, not talking about them, not putting them on the slides. The oversight, operational reliability is not an issue. And the benchmarking against other park districts, namely Mid-Peninsula, namely Santa Clara Parks, is not happening where you say, okay, how are their parks doing? Are they all closed? And in some cases that the answer is no. And then another issue that I'd like to point to is park planning. There's lots of park planning going on, and there's lots of certain particular groups that need to be helped. Underserved communities, we call them. But one of the biggest underserved communities, and most important, but it doesn't get much notice, is children. So children they have a whole different set of needs, and there are a whole different sizes and whole different likes and dislikes and things. And children don't get thought of very much. So when people build parks and say, oh, we can't put in picnic tables, that hits the children. When people build parks and say, oh, we're not going to put in all these little doodads, this is not a park. This is, a nature area. That hits the children. So a lot of planning needs to be, a lot more thought needs to be put into what is good for the children. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly.
We do not have any more public comments.
All right. Well, thank you folks for being here and sharing their comments. Our next item is the consent calendar. The consent calendar contains 9 items. And I Madam Clerk, has anyone asked a poll? Any board members asked a poll or question anything?
I believe the questions were answered, Director Rosario. I didn't, no one else let me know in advance. Director Corbett, did you? have something?
I was ready to move.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
on your hand, so.
public comments on the consent calendar? Then I'll accept, Member Corbett's motion to accept.
Yes.
We will have a second. We have a motion is second. And Member Mercurio, if there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you take the roll call vote?
Yes, President Waspy. Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Corbett,
Aye.
Director Rosario. Aye. Director Coffee,
Aye.
Director Mercurio, Director San Juan,
Yes.
and President Was.
Aye.
Unanimously.
The consent calendar passes unanimously. Let's step back in time, do occasionally, to announcements. General Manager Landis, do you have any announcements? I'm new. Nope. Great. Okay, then we'll move to acquisition, stewardship and development divisions. Authorization to execute a Second Amendment contract with Upright Engineering.
Good afternoon, board members. It's my pleasure to be here to introduce this next item. It is about Restore Hayward Marsh. My time will be brief here. I'll turn it over to Chris Barton, who's our restoration manager and project manager for this project. He'll give you an update and the need for this action. Thank you.
Thanks, Ren. President Waspy, board members, Chris Barton. I'm your restoration projects manager with DECO. I will provide an overview of the project. This item is for an amendment to an existing contract. We've recently completed the pre-design for the Hayward Marsh project. And we're ready to proceed with design and permitting. So I'll provide a review of the project and then also talk a little bit more about the action and the scope of work that's included and get my slideshow going too. All right, so just jumping right to our project location. Hayward Marsh, it's a former wastewater treatment facility that's located in the city of Hayward, just north of Route 92. And it's owned by the Park District. And what's unique is that for many years, Union Sanitary District has discharged treated wastewater, so fresh water into this marsh complex, which was completed back in the 1980s, where the goal was to take all of this fresh water and use it for habitat, and that's what was constructed. What's really interesting is that Hayward Marsh and Cogswell Marsh were actually two of the biggest restoration projects on the West Coast during the 80s. So it's kind of really speaking to how the Park District has been innovative in this area. So it's really a pleasure to be able to work on this project and look at how we can adapt to some of the changes associated with sea level rise and other challenges. So the treatment marsh itself is about 145 acres. It was constructed in 1985. And here's a quick overview of how the wastewater treatment facility was originally designed to be used. So the treated wastewater would enter at pond 1, work its way into ponds 2A and 2B, and then eventually make its way to an area that we refer to as the mixing channel. So this mixing channel is where water from San Francisco Bay comes in, mixes, and then the water then works its way into ponds 3B and 3A. And eventually heads north, works its way up to the Northwest Channel, and then that's where it eventually makes its way out to San Francisco Bay. So I think of this, I'm not a wastewater treatment expert, but it's really a polishing or a finishing of the wastewater treatment. So by the time it gets to San Francisco Bay, it's fully treated wastewater. The other project area includes the Salt Marsh Harvest Mouse Preserve. This is a muted marsh, and flood flood control waters enter here, so fresh water comes in here. It's a muted tidal area. That fresh water exchanges with tidal water. So the yellow arrow here is an existing culvert. That's the point where San Francisco Bay waters enter into that mouse preserve. And well, I should point out too, just a couple of things about the ponds. So the reason why we have this project and why the board authorized us back in 2020 to move forward with pre-design is because a lot of these channels have become silted in. They're not functioning properly. And it's no longer viable for a wastewater treatment facility. And one of the iconic things I know for those that come out to this area is for the California lease turn. So over here, we've actually got the second largest lease turn colony north of Ventura County. So Doc Quack and stewardship has been overseeing that for many years, since the 80s. Also, we have the highest breeding density of Western snowy plover in San Francisco Bay at this location. And the Bay Trail is at risk of flooding. The recently completed risk assessment that was done pointed to Hayward Shoreline as being one of the most vulnerable shorelines. And when you go out there or even look at board actions for repairs, there's just been a patchwork of repairs that we've needed out here. So to the timeline. So back in 2020, that's when the board authorized staff to move forward with pre-design and environmental review. And we've completed that process. So just to review what we did, we completed our homework, essentially all the technical studies in spring of 2021. We took that information and designed some schematic designs. And then we brought that then to the board executive committee, some public workshops, and then also engaged some agency stakeholders who essentially served as our technical advisory group for the project. So we took those concepts and got the feedback from those groups and then developed a preferred concept plan. We brought that back to the board executive committee meeting, and that was a recommendation item. And the board executive committee recommended that we proceed with the preferred concept plan. And I'll go over that plan in a minute. And we also had agency stakeholder outreach and input on that as well. So here we are, winter 2023. We have a contract amendment for design and permitting services in front of you, and also CEQA compliance. So I'm happy to report we did receive one of the state's new statutory exemptions for restoration projects, and that was in coordination with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And it's a really big jump for the project because it gives us CEQA project moving into the future, because this is a very long-term project. So every action that the board has on this, we can rely on that exemption. So it's a really big deal, and I'm happy to report that. So just going over our project goals, and they are numerous, but I'll just go into some detail on these because they're really important. So the first goal is to enhance wildlife habitat. And what we mean by that is to maintain, improve, and expand nesting habitat for California least terns, salt marsh harvest mouse, black skimmer, and water birds. And to restore tidal wetland habitat, including muted tidal, improve managed ponds and water quality in those ponds, provide marsh upland transitional habitat, and increase habitat connectivity. Our next goal, planning for sea level rise, and these are not mutually exclusive. There's definitely overlap in these. When we're enhancing wildlife, providing public access, you can't talk about those without considering sea level rise. But kind of the big picture on planning for sea level rise, we're going to protect the Bay Trail and the pond infrastructure and other habitat features from coastal flooding and erosion, protect sensitive habitats, and provide opportunities for upslope migration, and plan for future retreat of habitat and infrastructure from the shoreline. Our third goal is to improve public access opportunities. And we have to recognize when we talk about public access for this location, that it essentially has been managed and operated as a refuge of sorts. And that's why we have this oasis refuge for endangered species. So When we talk about improving public access, we're talking about keeping the Bay Trail along the bay as long as we can until it's no longer viable. And then to reduce our operation and maintenance of the Bay Trail due to coastal flooding. So essentially make the Bay Trail so it's more resilient, it can handle harsher, flashier storms. And then to plan for viable trail connections to adjacent trail networks. You know, part of the challenge with designing and planning for Hayward Marsh is it's kind of this one puzzle piece within a much larger context. So we have a master plan, a HASPA master plan that helps us with that. But that's one of our goals, is to make sure we have logical trail connections. And then finally, improving our management capabilities. So we want to enhance our ability to perform maintenance of levees, channels, water control structures, and other site infrastructure, provide sustainable and long-lasting infrastructure, reduce siltation in ponds and channels, and provide accommodations for desilting, improve our ability to adapt to water quality issues, including mosquito and other water quality challenges, which is mostly associated with stagnant water that's not moving. We have a number, there are a lot of resources that we have for designing with a project like this, but some of the top ones include the Baylands Ecosystem Habitat Goals Project, and this is really the guide throughout the Bay where restoration is needed most, and what should be the main goals for these projects. The next is a Subtitle Habitat Goals Report, and this report is really a cutting edge guide back in 2011, 2012, but there's a need for more implementation projects. And we have an opportunity here to have gray-green infrastructure, living shorelines to address shoreline protection and erosion issues. And of course, we've got other restoration projects through our agency partners, like the South Bay Salt Pond Restoration Project. We did have some close coordination with the staff that's been managing that project. And of course, we have our own restoration projects that we have experience from that we can inform our project design with. And I mentioned the HASPA, with the Hayward Regional Shoreline Adaptation Master Plan. And this is a huge document because, like I mentioned, having just one piece of the puzzle is really troubling to plan. But when you have this master plan that actually was adopted before we launched this in 2020, that's great timing. So we're able to make logical connections for our levees, for a more comprehensive plan, and also for our trail connections. And then I mentioned the San Francisco Bay Trail risk assessment and adaptation plan. I think I got that right. Okay. I have to mention our stewardship group who's been managing the species out there since the 80s, Doc Quack and Mark Taylor. And so they've been managing for the least-turned snowy plover and salt marsh harvest mouse out there for many years. So it's been really great to have that level of detail included with our project plan. And I mentioned that the HASPA master plan, and I just wanted to point out 3 key elements of that plan that the Hayward project will implement. One is an interim levee, which is really at the heart of our project. And it helps us to achieve a lot of our goals for species management and then also for Bay Trail resilience. And then there's also, so that's the first 2 check marks. And then the last one is tidal marsh connectivity to Cogswell and Hard Marsh. So the HASPA master plan does describe that as being, identifies that as being a key goal, and we're able to accomplish that with our concept design that the board approved. Here are our agency stakeholders who have served as our technical advisory group throughout the process. And I'm going to jump into a series of slides that describe the preferred concept. And I know some have seen this slideshow before, but before I do that, I just wanted to provide a quick overview of these different habitat types, because what we're trying to accomplish with this project is to have a broad range of habitat types in the near term, the medium term, and in the long term. So starting with mudflats over here, essentially the mudflats are those areas that you see that are mud when they're exposed at low tide, and they are inundated by waters longer. You could see it on this tide graph here. When we talk about tidal marsh here, for this slideshow, we're combining low marsh and high marsh. So low marsh being those areas that inundate more frequently. High marsh may only, it may only be flooded a couple days of the month during the full moon, maybe 3 days a month. And that's where you'll find pickleweed and salt marsh harvest mouse habitat. So that's low marsh and high marsh. And this site's unique because there's extensive muted tidal marsh. So muted tidal marsh essentially means that the marsh is open to the tide, but because there are dikes and water control structures, we can control the water level. So if the target habitat is high marsh, we could design the project to have water control structures and dikes so we can maintain that water elevation. And then managed pond is similar to muted tidal marsh, except it's not open to tidal exchange. It's kind of a one-way. The water comes in, it reaches a design elevation for that water, and then it's set. And that's currently how the Hayward Marsh was set up originally for the wastewater treatment facility. So this hatch mark shows the extensive managed pond land cover type. And then the mouse preserve is shown in green. And that's a muted tidal marsh situation. So here's a projection. I'm gonna look at the medium term and then the long term. So if we take our sea level rise projection and fast forward 2 years, most of that mudflat area will match the mouse preserve and turn from being a managed pond system into a muted tidal marsh. So it all turns green. Oh, one thing I overlooked, and I apologize, I forgot to show the Bay Trail. So this dark line right here is the San Francisco Bay Trail. And currently you can access from the Hard Visitor Center, just for reference. And then another point of reference is for those who have been on a tour out here. Most of the time when you go to look at, I think Doc Quack calls it Turntown out there. So you come in from Enterprise, and then you should typically go along the levee here, up to pond 3A and stop here. This is kind of the best view. And then to go to the bayfront here and then around. And then a lot of times we'll just do a complete loop and come back out in this direction, just for orientation. Sorry, I didn't do that sooner. Okay. Now, if we fast forward 50 years of sea level rise, 5 feet, 50 years in advance with 5 feet of sea level rise, it mostly turns into intertidal mudflat. And you can see that the Bay Trail will have to be relocated over here into this gold line. And this is consistent with what the HASPA master plan envisions is this type of a retreat strategy. And here we are. This is the preferred concept, super complicated. I will try to break it down. Let's see. Okay. So I'll just start with the colors. So that dashed line again, that's at ponds 3A and 2A. Those will continue to be managed ponds, and they have to, in order to meet our objectives for the lease term, we have to be able to manage those water levels. Pond 3B will turn to tidal marsh. This is kind of dotted habitat, or this dotted symbol. And then where we have this gradient between goldish brown to green, this is an upland transition area. So this is where fill will be added so that we have a higher elevation at the goldish brown, and then it'll gradually work its down to match the elevation of the mouse preserve. And we have a wide range in costs of 25 to 40 million because there's up to 800,000 cubic yards of soil that we need to implement this design. And the wide range is really a reflection of how efficiently we can place this dirt. And when you talk to construction guys, the most efficient way is touching the dirt the least number of times possible. So we want to have a plan to put the dirt where we want it per the design with all of our other environmental constraints. That's our goal. And that's why at this early stage in planning, we have such a wide range in costs. So breaking it down, I'm just going to focus on two of our goals: enhance wildlife habitat and plan for sea level rise to show how the project plan is accomplishing this. This dashed red line is the interim levee that's really at the heart of the project. And what this interim levee allows us to do is to control water levels for everything that's to the east. And that becomes important because eventually Pond 3A will become inundated and it will switch or convert from being a managed pond system to mudflat. Okay, the other key feature we have for wildlife and planning for sea level rise is to remove this existing levee. And what this does is it improves our habitat connectivity between the Salt Marsh Harvest Mouse Preserve. And it's a really unnatural line, right? It's like this really sharp angle. It's a levee. It's kind of an eyesore on the landscape. So we have an opportunity to take that down and then also connect the mouse preserve with this upland habitat for sea level rise. So as water levels get higher, the mice will have a place to go. And then with our partners with mosquito and vector control, they identified some opportunities over here in the marsh preserve to improve circulation, water circulation. And then over here, this is our where we're going to make a tidal marsh connection. So this is at Pond 3B. So this will involve taking down the existing levees, and then they will hydrologically, Pond 3B will be connected with Cogswell Marsh and Hard Marsh. And then we've identified some opportunities for living shoreline features out here. And really it's to provide subtidal habitat benefits, but also to increase our sea level rise resilience to reduce erosion as well. Jumping to our next two goals, improving public access opportunities and improving management capabilities. Here we have yeah, that's right. Sorry, I'm getting confused by my own slide. Okay, so we have the interim levee again. So what this does for public access is it gives us an alternate route for when that bayfront alignment is no longer viable. The Bay Trail will be realigned on top of this interim levee alignment. We will also be replacing the water control structures out there with new ones that can meet our design needs. And then another maintenance improvement is to get rid of the inlets and outlets that are fronting the bay. And those become an issue because that's where they're receiving a lot of the debris from broken down docks and wood debris that clog up those systems. So rather than fronting the bay, the design is going to, all the tidal waters will come in from the north and the south, kind of an offline to the side areas. And that's one of the benefits of connecting Pond 3B to Cogswell and Hard Marsh. And then to improve our maintenance access, one issue we have is we can't get big vehicles across this kind of this turn right here, these really sharp turns. So we would widen out the bench here for the road, and that way we can make those turns. The turning radius will be much easier to negotiate. Okay, so here is the slide that shows what happens, and I'm going to do, it's kind of like going to the eye doctor, like before and after, right? So this is before sea level rise, and this is what we'll get out the gate. We'll get a managed pond at Pond 3A for the least turn, and then pay attention to the Bay Trail too. When we fast forward with 2 feet of sea level rise, then Pond 3A turns from a managed pond situation to a intertidal mudflat, and the Bay Trail gets realigned. So that's what 20 years of sea level rise, 20 years in the future with 2 feet of sea level rise. And then when we get to the long term, looking 50 years out, 5 years of sea level rise, we have a combination of tidal marsh, and there's this ultimate levee that would need to be built to protect the urban interface, which is this gold line. And that would really be the ultimate flood protection solution going beyond the year 2080. And also note that you can see our shoreline, our living shoreline elements out of the bay. Those are actually going to be really interesting future habitat islands, because we're going to be building that up in the short term to keep public access. But in the longer term, those are going to be like higher elevation areas, which potentially could be habitat islands out there in the future. So it's kind of interesting to think of it that way also. Here we are, the action before the board today. One is to approve this amendment with Upright Engineering for $1,342,260 to proceed with design and permitting the project. And there are also two transfer of funds items. One is to move funds from a project that was completed a couple years ago to repair some levees out at Hayward Marsh. And the other was some funding that was available from some safety and security money from 2011. And that was for the acquisition of the Salt Marsh Harvest Mouse Preserve from the city of Hayward. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Any questions or comments, Chris? Member Corbett?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for this presentation. It's quite impressive for people who have been paying attention to the shoreline along that entire area, not only the area that East Bay Park District has been working in, but other parts of the shoreline along the bay. Some of us pay attention to that too, in other park areas. So this is really quite impressive. So thank you for sharing those details for us and protecting that shoreline for a while and protecting the wonderful things that live along that area. It's just too bad that we don't know that it might last forever and ever. But who knows? Maybe things will get better as people support the environment. But it's just very impressive. I don't really have questions, but I'm very impressed with the work you've done. Oh, I guess I do have a question. Has there ever been any thought to take a look at the San Leandro's projects and to see if there's some way to make sure that they can sort of not really connect with each other, but don't create a situation where they're not supportive of each other?
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to answer that question. Our project scope really is just the wastewater treatment area, like it's the 172 acres we have there. But the HASPA shoreline master plan takes all of the planning up to the northern boundaries at Oraloma Marsh. And I've heard from Planning Chief Holt that the city of San Leandro, actually, they recently received a grant for some comprehensive planning for their shoreline, and our planning staff is working with them on that. So hopefully the lessons that we learn and we can learn from them, and we could work together and making sure that we both have great projects.
Yeah, I'm so very glad to hear that. And I do know, after paying attention to San Leandro's issue for years and years, that they had to completely change and take out the sort of not so environmental spots and turn them into, they brought in lots and lots of soil, brought in the mounts, and created a situation where the various animals we care about were living over the years. And so it's really nice to see that this is being done there too. And it makes sense that they sort of work together. They're not that far from each other. They'll be part of the same family, I'm sure, over time. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yeah.
My question is about ownership. So we've got this nice map on in our board packet. And I think it was one of the maps that you'd also showed on the PowerPoint slide. So it looks like Hayward Area Recreational has their own marsh right next to this. Who owns the Salt Mouse Preserve, the Salt Marsh Mouse Preserve? And then this parcel that we're looking at, the former treatment marsh, and then the Cogswell Marsh, the areas around it, like what's that ownership?
Sure. It's confusing because the map that we included with the packet, it's an older map that does not include the Salt Marsh Harvest Mouse Preserve. So that mouse preserve is actually included with the overall project. So we own the mouse preserve.
Okay.
So that map really, where it's showing the project area, it should extend to include the Salt Marsh Harvest Mouse Preserve.
And then this area that we're looking at, we own that. We're not working on it on behalf of the sanitary district.
There's a mixture of ownership in there.
Okay.
Some of it are leased lands through California State Lands through the city of Hayward. There are 2 parcels that have that situation. The rest of it we own. Yeah, does that
That
answer
makes
it?
sense. And then
Okay,
the
great.
Cogswell Marsh, is that,
Cogswell Marsh, we own most of that. I haven't looked at the ownership as closely, but I believe we own most of that.
and then in terms of the Union Sanitary District, did they move something similar somewhere else on the shoreline in terms of these ponds, or did they come up with a completely different treatment?
That's a
system?
great question. Where's the waste going now? Yes, so the wastewater treatment has evolved in their ability to more efficiently treat wastewater through their facilities. Or they've been upgraded. So they have an upgraded facility that came online about a year or 2 ago. And that's where this secondary or tertiary treatment water is now going. So it no longer needs to pass through the marsh. And it's actually, from a regulatory standpoint, they have better assurances that they can meet their standards by going through these more modern wastewater treatment facilities.
Anyone else? Chris, I have watched this project for a long time and I find it great. I consider it hydrologically adventurous. I like that, the way you're moving water. One thing, when we talked about Union Sand discharging, so how many GPMs or MGDs per day did they put into that marsh? But it's a trick question, not a trick question. I'm just wondering.
That's a tough question because I don't know the answer. Yeah, I think Matt, well, if you're online, if you know, you might have that up on the
Yeah.
figure.
Chief of Stewardship, Matt Grawl. Yeah, I'm on remotely. Yeah, so the maximum permit limit was 20 million gallons a day. Functionally, I think the most that I was ever seen went through was around average of 10 million gallons a day, and the average was around 2 to 3 million gallons a day when it was an average normal operation. But in big wet weather events, they may get up into the 10s to 12 million gallons a day when it was in full operation. But the permit would allow more, but it was just hard to really push that much through on a given time period. Because usually when they need to push it through, it's during a wastewater event. There's only a few days to push that water through.
Great, thank you. That's a lot of water, and we're replacing that through moving it all around, and I appreciate that. I was wondering, I don't know. I keep looking at the map and that you had up there, and with the hard marsh, the Hayward Area Recreation and Park District Marsh. I'm wondering, would you be willing to venture if we owned that? Would it have been an asset as far as contractors developing plans and designing plans for that? I know we shared an outlet channel with the hard marsh. The hard marsh. Would that have been an asset or a detriment for us to own that? And I say that obviously because it's been talked about for years of us taking over Hard's land. And we talk about these things: enhancing wildlife, planning for sea level rise, improving public access, and improving management capabilities. Do you think that owning that Hard portion would do a better job for us if would that be an advantage to us?
Well, I can't speak for operations staff, but I can tell you from a project perspective that the Hard staff has been great to work with. They're one of our agency stakeholders, technical advisory members, and we are going to need some coordination and cooperation with Hard for construction access, because our main construction access point is going to be along that interim levee that comes from the visitor center into the heart of our site. And then also the installation of the water control structures. We do interface with Hard there. And there's also the bridge that connects the Bay Trail from the Hard Marsh to the north to the property that we own. So operations wise, I'll defer to operations on that.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the public?
Yes, President Wasby, we have one public comment. We have one speaker. Kelly, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. The question about how it connects with San Leandro, I asked that question a couple of years ago at the HASPA meetings, and I got an email back from one of the Hayward city employees who said, "Oh yeah, it's too far away, so we're not planning for it." Of course, they are planning for it now. We just heard they're planning. They're working together on that. I sent them a map, and I showed that the distance between the corner of the hard property and the corner of the city of San Leandro was less than a quarter mile. It was almost touching. So yeah, and also there's the newspaper article about several years ago about the disappearing San Leandro Long Beach. It's like completely disappearing, and they're working on that. I'm sure that's why they have all this very good planning going on now, because it's a problem. I'd like to connect this project with the historical stories of what was supposed to be happening here and is no longer happening here, and why did they drop these things? Why did they drop remember the famous Ecotone levee? Well, to make those things work, you need a lot of fresh water, which usually comes from a sewage treatment plant, and you need twice as much dirt as you would for a regular levee, which costs money. Dirt costs money, so it's a little more expensive. And these guys figured out that, it costs. Running the whole thing is no longer happening. And then even running the wastewater through this marsh, that's a nitrogen removal effort. And it turns out, yes, they upgraded the plant. They convert the nitrogen incoming ammonia in the wastewater stream is converted into gaseous nitrogen and released into the atmosphere, which is okay. But releasing nitrogen into the bay, the liquid nitrogen, is bad. And so this nitrogen loading thing, if you're going to be doing it, we had this story about how we're going to do it all natural and how that was the dream. Well, if you can do that possibly in places, maybe in Eureka, Humboldt County, you can, because you have build a big marsh. You have a smaller volume of sewage, and everything works happily. However, in the Bay, San Francisco Bay has a massive nitrogen loading problem, and you can't. The land use, how many acres or thousands and millions of acres would you need to do nitrogen treatment through all natural marshland systems? Too much. So what they're doing, they're also thinking. I talked to Regional Water Quality Control Board, and they're thinking of nitrogen trading and these kind of things. But basically, upgraded sewage plants are needed, especially in places like San Francisco, which is the biggest polluter. San Francisco, keep that in mind, huge polluter into the Bay, and Oakland is also a polluter, but they're not nearly as bad as San Francisco. So, but San Leandro, San Lorenzo, or at least San Lorenzo and Fremont and places like that are not on the list of top polluters. Thanks.
There are no further comments. We have the opportunity to authorize and execute a second amendment to the contract with Upright Engineering. Do I have a motion for that? Motion by member Corbett and a second by member Mercurio. Hearing no further comments, Madam Clerk, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Yes, President Wasby. Director Eccles?
Aye.
Director Rosario?
Aye.
Director Corbett?
Aye.
Director Coffey?
Aye.
Director Mercurio? Director Sunron?
Yes.
And President Wasby.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much for your presentation. And our next item is the authorization to purchase 4 Green Climber remote slope mowers and 8 additional protection packages from Jesse Mack Company at a total cost of $541,581.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Lisa Gorgon, the Assistant General Manager of Operation. And I'm here in person, but also joined with me is the Chief of Mast, Robert Kennedy, and the Fleet Manager, Jason McChrystal. He's on Zoom, as well as Chief Tiley as well. It's a cross-divisional item. So, oh, and the interim acting Chief of Operations, Dan Sykes, is also here. So you have me, but virtually there's a lot more of us. So I'm going to get started. Okay. So this item is to authorize the purchase of 4 new green climber remote slope mowers and 8 protection packages for the current district stock. These purchases were identified and are identified in the 2023 budget, district budget that was just approved. And today I'm providing a short presentation in accordance with the board operating guidelines that identify items over 500,000 will be non-consent items. We did practice earlier. Deborah. There we go. Okay, thank you, Deborah. Okay, start again. So here we are. We have some photos here of the existing green climbers that we have hard at work. So this is them clearing some defensible space. This is from the fire department. So we know at the district safety is a top priority. And so these mowers go a long way in advancing safety when it comes to maintaining fuel breaks, clearing trails, and maintaining brush. They are deployed on uneven surfaces or very sharp embankments, sharp meaning steep embankments and hilly terrain, so that the staff are able to operate them using remote control. They'll stand on, solid ground, and these things are off and running where it's more treacherous conditions. So the 4 mowers that are being purchased as part of this action will be deployed at Briones and Sibley and the Interpretive Parklands unit, and then also one in fire. We also are requesting authorization to purchase protection packages on our existing green climbers that we have. We have 8 of those. And so the new green climbers that we'll be purchasing come with these protection packages. So, but we're providing as part of this to provide protection for our existing climbers. The reason for them is they really provide a lot of security, or they really protect our assets. So these are district assets, and they're on these unstable conditions, and they can be vulnerable to rollovers, and they can also get undercarriage damage by rocks or things that are underground that we may not be able to see. So that's why it's really good for the district to just get that extra security and protection for these assets. Oh, and finally, I did want to mention that these are diesel powered. So this renewable diesel 99 is in accordance with our green fleet policy. And so that's really another special thing about these green climbers. Okay. I'm looking at Jim. Okay, smiling. So, let's see. Okay, I just talked a little bit about the protection packages and where they're going to be deployed, and then the total cost. So again, it's for the total price, it's over 500,000. This 541, 581,000. The district is also, as we've done in the past, utilizing a cooperative purchasing agreement. So this is open to government agencies. It's a consolidated purchasing process where individual agencies don't have to do an RFP to provide equipment or to purchase equipment that's usually universally or commonly purchased by government agencies. So we are tapping into that as part of purchasing these items. And I did check, and we anticipate they will be coming in once authorized by the end of the year, although the timing was uncertain, but definitely by the end of the year. And finally, this is the trails crew, the small trails crew, Pat Dedmans, using them, using one of them in action. You can see he's holding the remote control and it's climbing down the hill there. So with that, I'm gonna pause and if there's any questions, and then certainly there's a lot more people in this room who have a lot more knowledge about these green climbers than I do. So I'm sure they'd be happy to answer questions as well.
Any questions, comments? Member Rosario?
Yeah, I think, God, I think these are great. I wish I had them when I was out in the field. I mean, just the fact that you don't have an operator sitting on top of a mower, God, it's amazing. So I just noticed that these are capable of taking brush, looks like, that are 4, 5, 6 feet high. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these mowers can effectively replace the Tiger mower that we used to have, or do we still have that Tiger mower? Yeah, I mean, with these, I mean, these are so much safer and so much, and you don't need to have a whole crew behind it. So I'm wholeheartedly in favor of these, and the safety package is no brainer. So I think in terms of efficiency and safety, these are the way to go. So I really appreciate number one, our capacity to try these out and find out that they're good, and we're going to invest in more of them. So that's great. Thank you.
Member Corbett?
So I have this question. I hope it's not a strange question. Are we using this equipment just on land that we own, or land that we don't own, but we're taking care of? So, do you know what I mean? Are there areas that we take care of, but it should be maybe their responsibility to be moving weeds?
Well, I think, so I see Chief Tiley's on the line, and I'm gonna defer to her because my impression is on our parklands, we're managing on our parklands, but I'm not sure where we've got cooperative management agreements. So
meaning using it in the lands that we own, not necessarily take care of on behalf of other places that own land. Because we have.
I can answer that, Director Corbett. Good afternoon, Eileen Tiley, Fire Chief. We only in lands, and you kind of all have touched on it, that we own and operate or have responsibility for and have some sort of a working agreement with. We would never put machinery or equipment on somebody else's land that we don't bear the responsibility for.
So that could include land that we don't own, but we have a responsibility to take care of that land.
Yes,
You know what I
it
mean?
could.
It's not like somebody else's property in that sense. It's places that are larger spots that we take care of for them.
If we are responsible for taking care of it, With regards to fuels reduction work, yes, we can do it on somebody else's land, but that doesn't happen very often. That's only when we have some sort of a maintenance agreement or some sort of an MOU with them. But primarily, in the big picture, 99% of the time it's going to be on land that we own and that we're responsible for maintaining.
That's right. That makes most sense. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? John?
Yes, and thank you for that. I've never seen one of those before, so that's really, it looks like a cross between a Roomba and a Flymo, you know. So congratulations to whoever thought of that. The last slide there, I think it was, showed it. You said it was on a trail. Is that replacing, without have replaced somebody riding on something and doing that, or line trimmers?
Well, so the reason why I think that was there was because it was on an embankment. So when it's on the trail, you know, that we're still going to maintain flat surfaces the way we maintain them. These are really used in situations where it's really unsafe to be on a mower or a line trimmer. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But currently without this new piece of equipment, how would the work have been done?
Probably a combination of by hand or on, you know, I think we have smaller equipment. So, yeah.
So it's really a more efficient way to get the job done.
That's right.
And more cost effective, because it's not an inexpensive piece of equipment, but I would think it sounds like it really clearly makes its way in the work that it can do.
Yes.
And it's safer. Okay.
And Director, you're reminding me, it's in the staff report, but just it also mulches as it goes. So it really is sort of twofold. You're taking the material down and then you're having it in situ where you can just leave it.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember McCormick?
Sorry to ask another one of these questions, but are we careful to make sure we're not creating a situation where we're expanding plants that we might not necessarily want to be growing in a particular neighborhood? You know, we go and take everything out, but if we're creating a way to regrow something that's more a weed that we're not as happy about, are we careful about that, or do we, you know what I mean?
I think we are careful about that.
Lisa, do you want me to answer that for?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you, Eileen. I think it's also just as to be clear, it's just mulching the material. So we're not replanting, but Chief Tyler.
But does it
Yeah,
have
I think it should
seed
be,
in it?
Director
Dry
Corbett, it should be
seed, except
mentioned that this doesn't replace, like if it's in an area that we're going to be using one of these, a mower, it does not exclude the fact that we still have to take care of any of the resources that may be there. So if there are nest surveys that need to be done, or any of the other precautions that we have to take towards our resources are still taken. And in the fire department, if it is non-native invasive, especially invasive vegetation, then we generally flag that area. And if it's appropriate to use it, we will use it. If it is not appropriate to, we will use another method. It's definitely a tool in the toolbox. But I think most of the district is generally aware of how not to spread invasives, like mowing them and mulching them at a certain time in the phenology of the plant for existence, when it actually damages the plant, not letting it grow or spread. So I think that's just kind of part of the culture here, if that helps.
Yep, there's two ways. They're the ones that you want to deal with in a situation that they will come back in the next season, and those you would prefer that they don't. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Member Coffee.
So is the protection packages cover regular servicing, or is it just warranty repairs, repair warranties?
I think my understanding, and I'm going to defer to Jason McChrystal, he's here, but our fleet staff will still maintain these. These I think are added, it's some added like protection. It's like it's added parts to these climbers, so shields would be a way to think of it. So, yeah,
Oh, so it's not a repair warranty, it's hardware.
That's
that
right.
Attaches to the machines.
that's right.
To protect them, so it's an enhancement to the individual units. I got it, thank you.
I guess, yeah, I truly support these. I think they're great. I had the opportunity to watch the training sessions on them when the first 4 came, I guess. They just chomp it up really, really well. And these machines, I'm glad we're getting the protecting packages. I don't know, they create such a chaos that the inlet, when you're pulling in air to run the engine, their screens and they pack with dirt. And literally part of the function of the engine is I think it's 5 minutes, 3 minutes, I don't know what it is, you probably can control it. It changes everything and blows air out from inside the engine and blows the screens out. And so you can continue to suck real air until you do it again in 5 minutes and fill it up with dirt and then blow it out again. And they're pretty sophisticated pieces of equipment. And the idea of being able to operate them on steep slopes. Dee and I can remember some of our dear friends who've been rolled over by Swaco machines and other pieces of heavy equipment that hurt really bad. These really work well when you're just playing robot with them. So I highly support this. I'm wondering about maintenance. Do we ever roll any of them? Did any of the other 4 roll down a hill or die or crash or anything like that? Or is it just totally successful?
You're talking about these machines themselves, the green climbers?
Yeah,
Not that I'm aware of that we've rolled any of them, no. But they're pretty tough machines, especially with these new the guards that we're going to get and the protection package. That's what helped. They had some vulnerable parts and areas with hoses, et cetera. And so this will help their longevity and reduce the repairs.
Yeah, I think this will really change the game of maintaining trails and maintaining fuel breaks. I think it's a great idea. Hearing none from the board. Any comments from the public?
No, President was.
In that case, I will accept the motion to purchase these items. Member Rosario. So moved. Moved by Member Rosario, seconded by Member Eccles. Hearing no further discussion. Madam Clerk, would you take a roll call vote, please?
That's President Wasby.
Aye. Sorry, I heard my name.
Director
Aye.
Eccles.
Aye.
Director Corbett.
Aye.
Director Rosario.
Aye.
Director Coffee.
Aye.
Director Mercurio. Director San Juan.
Yes.
And President Wasby.
Aye again. Motion passes unanimously. When will will they be delivered by this year? Excellent, great. All right, now we're moving to where we want to be, the general manager's comments and the year-end review.
All right, thank you. So I am going to. And let me share my screen. I think it should be set.
You're not able to share your screen.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep, just let me. All right. Okay. All right. Well, this is something that I know you all are used to getting around this time of year, and this is my second time where I have been able to look back on the 12 months before and try to put this into a reasonable number of slides. As you can imagine, it is an impossible effort to try to capture everything that our staff has done over the course of a 12-month period. So this is meant to be a snapshot. So I apologize in advance if there are key projects that we didn't highlight. It is impossible, but just tried to put in a little flavor of everything and tried to pare it down a little bit this year, so it's not quite so lengthy. I am going to be doing this presentation as we always do, a little bit of a roadshow with different organizations externally and then internally. So certainly if there is feedback the board has on this, is the first time running through it this year, please don't be shy and let me know offline things that you suggest that we tweak. So this is the year in review for 2022. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the first batch of slides are really about connecting people to our parks. We had another really banner year of opening up new exhibits, parks, programs, et cetera, and ramping back up our opportunities to have people back in person. So it's been a very, very busy year. A little bit of some highlights on our fostering our safe visitor experience with our partnerships around access to swimming, which is a constant effort that we are working on and trying to expand that. And some few highlights on our infrastructure improvements, our finances, wildfire, our workforce, and dealing with the changing climate. All right. So first off, connecting people to parks, enhancing and celebrating the visitor experience. It's hard to believe that we got all this done. This was just last year, but we had the dedication for the Sunol Visitor Center last year, which I think most of you were able to attend. I was unfortunately home with COVID, so I missed that. We had we're able to honor our former longtime board director, Doug Seiden, over at Crown Beach and rename the visitor center after him. There is a lovely photo of you all with Doug, and had the opening of our new Prevence Garden at the Botanic Garden, which was again a very fun event. We also were able to install the trail post names in the Yakutsk basket exhibit at Coyote Hills last year. And lastly, the Shadow Cliffs interpretive pavilion. Finally, we had that with the promise we were going to get it done before Director Wieskamp left, and we did it just in time. So we had that lovely ribbon cutting as well. Also, with celebrating our visitor experience, we had some anniversaries that we were able to celebrate. The 10th anniversary over at Big Break at the over out in the Delta, the 5th anniversary at Lake Chabot for the UN International Day of Peace, and the really fun evening event. You see photos down at the bottom there, which was to celebrate Olmsted's 200th birthday over at Tilden's EEC. Another really fun event and a big turnout in the evening there. Also, in terms of expanding our public access, one of them that had been many, many years in the works, which was that we were able to dedicate the East Shore State Park's Brickyard Cove in Berkeley. It's the photo on the right there. And we were able to install 2 new docks at Contra Loma and extending the new loop at Ardenwood, the historic farm, and the train right there. And I don't think that's the photo of all of us on the train, but maybe it is. We'll pretend that was our board tour. Also, another I pulled this out as a separate slide just because this is such a big deal for us, that we were finally able to complete the public benefit conveyance of over the 2,000 acres over at Thurgood Marshall Regional Park, home of the Port Chicago 50. Many decades in the works, and many, many people that have been working on that, and really got to have the capstone, which is to receive the $3 million from Representative DeSaulnier for the visitor center, and then also $3 million in the state budget from Assembly Member Grayson to accelerate opening this up to the public over at south of Bailey Road. And staff is working furiously away at that. Know that that's the board's desire to get that open as soon as we can. Very exciting. I mentioned we were able to amp things up in terms of getting people back after all of our craziness from the pandemic, and still not quite back to where we want to be, but certainly we're able to get back to our walk and talks with our elected officials. We had 4 last year. They were with Assemblymember Grayson, Representative Swalwell, Representative DeSaulnier, and Assemblymember Alex Lee. We were able to complete the multi-year trail user group working group process to get the stakeholder input in the trail planning, design, and operations for talking about the future use of our trails. Launched our new Park District website, huge endeavor, and thank you to Public Affairs and the entire team on this. This was a massive overhaul, as I know you all are aware of, after many years of a stagnant website. And this continues to be a work in progress. But just really proud of everything that the staff has done on this website. As we know, the majority of our patrons are accessing trail maps and information about the park district via their phones now. So it's a much more mobile friendly website. We were able to conduct the virtual ethnic news media panel briefing, the Enjoy, Don't Destroy, which had a great turnout. And we had 110 participants actually in that briefing. So definitely was something necessary. And the 60th anniversary with Oakland and the sister city, we were able to welcome the mayoral delegation from Fukuoka's mayoral delegation at Reinhardt Redwood. And that is the photo down in the lower right-hand corner there. All right, so we were able to get our volunteer program back up and running again, which is very, very exciting after our hiatus, I guess we'll call it. We had our coastal cleanup day back in person, which was great at 14 locations in 9 parks. And I had the latest number here, which was, yes, we had over 1,200 volunteers this year and we were able to remove over 10,000 pounds of trash from 23 miles of shoreline. So certainly a great turnout, and thank you to our staff for organizing such a successful day. We also were able to increase visitation for our camping and picnic site reservations and our swimming. This number just kind of blew me away, but we had almost 21,000 camping reservations last year. Certainly the demand is not going to go away. People love the product that we're selling and love that they're able to have this incredible camping experience, really, frankly, in their backyard. It's an amenity that no one else in the Bay Area is able to provide at a really, really reasonable rate for our customers. Also had about 4,000 picnic reservations and almost 25,000 swimming reservations. So those numbers are going to continue to increase. I wanted to highlight swimming here. As we know, we have been challenged with our swim facilities for a variety of reasons, and are already amping up our recruitment on our lifeguards and trying to do everything we can to have as many of these open for this coming summer, despite the issues we had again last year. No water it was a big one. So a lot of things outside of our control. We still had almost 200,000 visitors participating in our swim facilities with the 13th consecutive year of no drowning. So thank you to Pete DeQuincy and his staff for all of their very hard and creative work that they do out there. And you can see the numbers on the swim tests, the lone life jackets. Continues to be something that we are offering as an essential service in our community. The last bullet there, partnered with Ambrose Recreation to provide services. I know it's been an interest of this board as we've been looking at, not necessarily all of our facilities being open for the summer. And then we have these other partner agencies that have really struggled to have enough lifeguards in their facilities. And so Pete and his staff have been very creative. Last summer, we were able to, like we mentioned here, partner with Ambrose Rec. We also had a little bit of a light partnership with the city of Oakland since Roberts Pool was closed. And we're able to provide some of our staff in partnership with the city and with Oakland Unified. We're continuing to pursue some other ideas for this summer, and we'll keep you guys posted on that. So again, listening to you and trying to get creative. These are the things we all love doing, which is getting things open here and expanding our system. So I just highlighted a few items there from 2022. We were able to purchase the 80-acre property as part of the Byron Vernal Pools Regional Preserve. We also were able to acquire about a 1,400-foot trail easement for the Bay Trail along Hayward Shoreline. Finally, opened Tyler Ranch at Pleasanton Ridge and completed the construction of new trail access to over 2,800 acres of the previously land bank properties there. Just a gorgeous photo right there. And completed construction of a 1 mile of paved Marsh Creek Trail from Concord Avenue to Vineyards Parkway in Brentwood. So again, this is not everything we did last year, but just to give a snapshot of just the breadth of what staff is worked on. Other infrastructure improvements, we just wanted to, I'm told to always include the restrooms in this presentation. So every year we're gonna keep doing that. So you can see there, we had 4 new ones. I know Jeff Rasmussen and the entire crew are working on more. So for the 2023, we'll report out on those. But we had installed new restrooms at Garin, Crown Beach, Del Val, and Pleasanton Ridge. And we were able to repair and restore a large part of the Sibley culvert at the McCosker property. And that was done with assistance from the Civic Corps crew. So I just wanted to highlight that one as also just another way that we're continuing with the board's support to leverage a lot of these really creative partnerships in the region. The part that I really love, which doesn't get people as excited, but why do we always highlight this? Well, you can't do any of that work unless we are able to pay for it in some way. And our incredible fiscal staff was able to receive the GFOA Achievement of Excellence in Financial Reporting for the 21st consecutive year. It says 18th. No, 21st consecutive. Oh, sorry. And then the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the 18th consecutive year. So very proud of the work that they are able to do, including achieving the highest possible bond rating again last year. So all of this makes it so that we are able to be great stewards of the public's dollars and deliver on what we promise at reasonable rates to our taxpayers. We were also able to appropriate the full $3 million through Measure FF, which I know you all are aware continues to fund some of our staff on some of these critical projects. And then just highlighted a couple other grants there, in addition to some other large ones that I know you all are aware of. Cannot leave a presentation without talking about fuel management and wildfire mitigation. That is a photo on the upper right side there of our carbonator that is now up and running over at Anthony Chabot, and we are working on finding a time for you all to go out and see it while it's still there and off and running. It's incredible to see the progress that they've made under that pilot. We are last year, our fire department removed dead, standing, and drought stressed trees across almost 1,200 acres at Miller Knox, Reinhardt Redwood, Tilden, and Roberts. So you can see there a fabulous photo of Miller Knox before and after the tree thinning that we did out there. And I know you all have seen that on some of our site visits. Really just fabulous work. And thank you to the board for continuing to expand the investments and resources that we're making into our vegetation management. This is one of the #1 issues for our constituents and certainly for the board. Our incredible government legislative affairs staff has been out hustling and really telling our story of, not only are we the largest property owner in the East Bay along these ridge lines, but we are the only agency that has been doing this work on the ground now for over a decade. And that message is really resonating with our delegation, both at the state level and the federal level, and resulting in real funding that's making a big difference. And we're working very, very hard on telling our story so that other agencies can learn from what we're doing here. As we know, fire knows no boundaries. Just highlighted a couple of things there that we were able to secure the $1 million from the Coastal Conservancy for wildfire resistance and the wildfire risk mapping. We have leveraged per the board's direction, we've done a great job of going out and securing matching funds from multiple agencies. And just to give you an update on that, I know we've been coming here kind of on a transactional basis every time we get another one of these partner agencies that's to help on this veg mapping project. And I thought it would be good to, it's hard to keep track when we come on one-offs, but right now we have secured funding from the Coastal Conservancy, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, East Bay Mud, and from the East Contra Costa County Habitat Conservancy. So been very, very successful on leveraging those funds with our partner agencies. Our FEMA grants have now, we've gotten up to a total of almost about $7 million, specifically for a safe and healthy forests. And very recently secured the $1.5 million from Senator Padilla through the community project funding requests for wildfire mitigation efforts. So really hitting it on a lot of different levels and being quite successful. None of this happens without our dedicated workforce. This was another banner year for us. We hired over 100 new regular status employees. So that does not include our seasonals. I really want to give a shout out to Human Resources and just all of the hard work that they've done to not just add staff. The board added the largest number of FTEs in the history of the Park District last year through your budget. So thank you for that. HR has been given now the tools and the support to really work on filling those positions and retaining the staff. And one thing I really did want to note is in our latest workforce diversity report, also really made some significant headway in diversifying our workforce. So thank you for all the support on that. But we really are now up to it's estimated 1,000 people working for the Park District. So that's very exciting. And you all just approved a record number of FTEs for us to add this year. So unfortunately, AGM Cook and her team, they are suffering from a curse of competency, and we will continue to keep them very, very busy here in working to fill those positions. We launched the Employee Appreciation Committee, which is an employee-led committee that is really tasked with real funding and on district time to put together meaningful events and programs for our staff on what they would like in terms of activities and getting together. And you see a photo there. We had a kickoff event in the spring where we had over 300 of our staff attended at Lake Chabot. And I am just so excited about what the committee has planned for this year. And it has been overwhelming the number of people who volunteered to want to work on this. So it's been really, really energizing for me. We had over 90 staff attended the 30 by 30 California Lunch and Learn staff event over at Tilden. That was led by Dr. Alvarez and her appointment onto Governor Newsom's 30 by 30 Planning Committee and Partnership Committee. Really that was another very energizing day with breakout groups and staff really rolling up their sleeves and getting creative around this work. We had over 36,000 training courses on Summit, which is our online training program. So we're really investing and growing our own here in the Park District when people come in and making sure that this is meaningful training for them and have really, again, enjoyed the support of the board here with some investments that you all made in your last two budgets so that we could expand this. And we are working away on the new building across the street so that we can continue to grow and to have even better working space for our employees. Our changing climate, engaging for the future. It's kind of funny. It's I debated having a separate slide for this because arguably you could say that dealing with the changing climate infuses absolutely everything that we do here in the Park District. It's a lot like equity work, where it's not a standalone project. It's actually infused into everything, but I really did want to highlight this. So
You can see there, we hosted two, large events on, specifically on the 30 by 30 initiative, again, led by Dr. Alvarez. The photo that's there on the left-hand side was a, little bit of a surprise visit from the Secretary of Natural Resources, California Secretary of Natural Resources, Wade Crowfoot, and his team. They called us up with not much notice and said, hey, we really want to celebrate the launching of the 30 by 30 report and all of the hard work that all of these, thousands of stakeholders put into this over these years. And we want to do it at one of your parks. They got to choose, they had a whole state to choose from, and they said, we want to do this at East Bay Regional. And we said, well, we've got the perfect outdoor office space for you. So there we are in the Redwoods, and Mike Moran and the whole team, they were there and in hosting the secretary and his team and some really prominent stakeholders around the state there. And it was a really happy event, and we were happy to host them. And then on the right there, we were able to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Clean Water Act over at Dotson Family Marsh. I know many of you were there with our new California state secretary, I think she is, yeah, for EPA and some of the other dignitaries that are there. I'm trying to. Oh, she's from. Oh, sorry, federal EPA and state EPA. So both of them are in the photo there. And awards. I think maybe we get a little bit complacent here about the awards, but boy, this place, it's really extraordinary. And it's important that we take a moment and just acknowledge. It's not something that I think that a lot of public agencies are good at, which is celebrating, because we're so busy and we are so just, I think, accustomed to moving from project to project to project, but it is really important that we take a minute and acknowledge just this recognition that we're receiving from outside. We received a national award and 2 statewide awards for our outstanding new park for Dumbarton Quarry Campground on the Bay. We also received awards from the Association of County Park and Recreation Officials, the California Association of Rec and Park Districts, California Parks and Rec Society, awards from the American Planning Association of Northern California, the California Trails and Greenways for innovation and excellence in green community planning. What Chris Barton was just talking about earlier, the San Francisco Bay Trail Risk Assessment and Adaptation Prioritization Plan, which evaluates the vulnerabilities facing East Bay's shoreline and provides recommendations for nature-based adaptation and restoration projects. We received an award from them for that, and we also received an outstanding JEDI Impact Award from CPRS for the district policies promoting justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. I know there were more, but I wanted to just highlight a few of those and just acknowledge again our staff, our board, and all of our community for the support that we are getting here from outside. And as we all paid a very bittersweet farewell to our 2 longtime standing board members, directors, Wieskamp and Beverly Lane, for their combined 52 years of distinguished service. It was a lovely event we were able to have for them outside and to honor them in the style that they wanted us to honor them, with cake. And then we're able to welcome our 2 new board directors to come in here. So it's been quite a year. Stop sharing here. Okay. It's been quite a year, impossible to capture everything. It's hard to believe when you go through this exercise. It's very healthy for me as a general manager to say, no, that was 2021. That couldn't have been, it's like, no, this all happened in 2022. This place never stops. It's incredible. And a lot of these projects have been decades in the making.
I just get to sit here and compliment the staff for all of their hard work and for the current board and the past board, and certainly for all of our community for continuing to provide us the resources that we need to do this work. So with that, I am happy to take any questions or comments, and then certainly if there are suggestions on how to tweak this moving forward. I do a little bit of a different version for outside bodies that aren't as familiar with us. I give a little bit more background on it. Didn't want to bore you with that today, but that is your year in review from 2022. Thank you.
So would that be similar to what you would give, or is that the one you give to the Parks Advisory Committee?
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I get to continue seeing it because I saw all those presentations from your predecessor. And that was always one of the highlights of the year, was coming to, see what happened and kind of think about what was going to happen too. So thank you for that. It's very well done. Very well done.
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate you and everyone on staff for an incredible year. It always amazes me how much you do. And I used to be down there somewhere. The year used to always go, it's like always be the same kind of, but then when you sit back and take a look at what you've done over the year, it's amazing. And I just wanted to thank everyone. Every one of you have done such a great job and in supporting our constituents, the board, and each other too. So thank you very much. Very much appreciated.
So impressive to see the work that's done. You look at that and it's a 1 year list of things, but it looks like it could be a 5-year list of things. The amount of work that people are involved in, and all the staff that is so, so supportive of backing, these wonderful programs, and we get those awards as well. And we have all those people who come in from the outside to these events, and it's just really something what we're able to do. And thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for all your hard work.
Congratulations, really, that's an incredible list of accomplishments, and I know that that's just a representative sample. So really, I want to thank you and your team and everybody who works here and our stakeholders that we were able to accomplish so much in a year, and it's very exciting to see. And I thought you did an excellent job on the report. I don't really have any changes to recommend. I think it does a good job of capturing the work and the spirit of what we do, and it's a good length of time for as you take it on the road. So thank you. Well done, everybody.
Yeah, question in terms of the roadshow, more specifically the external roadshow, who are some of the organizations and entities that you might present this to?
I don't have the full list in front of me. I'm looking at Susan. She might have it, but I'm just trying to, I'll just off the top of my head, try to remember from last year. We go to the PAC. We did this in front of different internal employee groups, but then externally, I think we did both, if I'm remembering correctly, the mayor's conferences,
Okay.
the city manager association. So that includes all 33 city managers, which those were really well received and lots of very hard questions. What else did we do? I think I did a couple chamber presentations last year. I can't remember everything off the top of my head, but we can get you the list. And then certainly I will share with you, some of your colleagues did take this and kind of tweaked it for their own presentations too. So we can make that available to you.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of different organizations and entities that would be interested in seeing this, and also it would be helpful for us to share with them, I think. And then, one idea when looking at the slides that could be of interest, potentially, maybe if there's a 1-pager summary that could be easily shared, you know, as like a PDF or something along those lines could be good, because not everybody scrolls through slides. And I really liked a lot of the data points that you shared, for example, on the volunteer program slide. But I noticed a lot of that was the voiceover and not on the slides, but maybe that's something that could be included in the one pager. I think that people would be really receptive to seeing some of those data points. But yeah, 'cause, you know, one thing I think about, you know, there's a lot of new people that have been elected to local city councils and other special district boards that we work with. And while we may not be able to get to all of them in person, if there's some way, I guess we could always share the recording of this board meeting. Or if we had, you know, a YouTube video or something that we'd be able to share, and then maybe that one pager that could be helpful. Cause you know, you know, when I meet some of the newly elected people and some of the different groups that I might be working with, not all of them are as familiar with the park district as I would like them to be. So I think this could be really helpful in that capacity.
Yeah, great suggestions. Thank you.
My own version of the presentation that I've done here and there over the last month or two, a couple months. I add maybe a slide that covers the financial success of the organization, just the expanded budget. You covered expanded FTEs and employment success in grant funding. I mean, the big picture of grant funding, which is tremendous. And the reason I mention it is if all the feedback I get, it's, my God, yes, incredible financial performance for the organization. So all of the things you could throw into this presentation, that's the only one I would recommend. It's been good for me and the feedback I get when I cover these things.
It's great to hear.
Other than that, I got a list of notes that I'll ask offline sometime.
Great. Well, thank you. It's a
Thank
great year.
you. I definitely want to say lastly, a huge thank you to the public affairs staff for putting this together. It's very, very challenging to take everything and try to boil it into 10+ slides. So thank you to Susan and her entire team for this product. Great job.
Great. So on the roadshow part, I don't know how it could be done, but I think this is a great source of pride for our employees, and I don't know how you would get that out to the employees. I don't know what forum you could use, other than maybe the managers and supervisors forum for managers and supervisors. And I know that, gosh, you said we could kind of steal this and use it. Oh, good, because I'm going to speak to retirees in next month, and I think they'll be blown away. I mean, the numbers are just incredible. 1,000 employees. There were people that Retirees Association meeting where there were 200 employees here, and they'll be amazed at the great works we're doing.
Yeah. I'll send it around to everybody.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
If there's nothing further, no public comments. We'll move to the announcements from the closed session, or anything else in the GM comments. There is a body of work that's been done throughout the operations division. Where's our?
I had a couple of questions that came up in the summary. In the parkland unit, it was mentioned there was 345 feet of new fencing along the creek in Leona, and I was wondering how much of that is still standing after the storms.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that, but I'm sure we could get that for you, Director Rosario. No problem.
Yeah, I can imagine some of it isn't. And then also in the report, it mentioned that of course there's the naturals, what the naturals have been doing. And I just wanted to know about the program at Peralta Hacienda was put on hold for this year because according to Tiffany, that there wasn't enough staff. I guess we've had some movement. And so that program got postponed until they could staff that properly. So that's part of the Oakland Ranger program, our junior ranger program. And I wanted to know, when can we expect that to be reinstated? Or if there's an expectation that's going to.
My understanding is I think they were looking at March, and that's the new, well, it's the second year of the Oakland cohort for Adventure Crew. Yeah, I think we're looking at March.
Oh, good, good. March, that's good. Good to hear. Great, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. There's nothing further for GM comments. We'll move to announcements from closed session. Counselor, do you have any?
No reportable action.
Great, thank you very much. And then we'll move to board committee reports. We have the Finance Committee meeting of January 25th. Any questions or comments on that? Nothing
Nope.
more to share.
Great presentation.
All right, and the Park Advisory Committee meeting of November 28th. There are no questions or comments on that. We'll move right along to board comments. That section, so I'd like to start with, can we start with Member Eccles? Are you prepared? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Very good, thank you. Well, let's see. First of all, on February 8th, I attended the board executive committee. On February 10th, I had a long walk and talk with our GM, Sabrina Landreth. We started out at the Tilden Golf Course, walked along above Lake Anza and then down to the creek and then down the creek all the way to the Nature Center where we met up with our new AGM for operations, Lisa Gorgian, and our AGM, our other new AGM, well, new to the agency, Waisaki, and talked about Jewel Lake. And then on February 15th, attended the Natural and Cultural Resources Committee. And on the 17th, attended the pre-board meeting. And I'm really enjoying some of this beautiful weather to be out in the parks, Tilden, Albany Beach, and also along the Bay Shore in the San Leandro area. So have had a nice couple of weeks and good long weekend, and I think that does it for, oh, and I've had a number of conversations too with our various advocates regarding Point Malate. It's been a busy couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. I have a few things to talk about, and then I have a couple of letters that I want to, one is a letter and one is a meeting that we had with some community members I'd like to talk about. The first one is, first of all, happy President's Day a couple times this month, including this last weekend. Also on February 9th, I want to thank Dennis for a meeting with him and the members of the Bayo Vista neighborhood who are concerned about a potential use of the land on the hillside up there behind that neighborhood. We recently were talking with them about a proposal to bring in a lot of background refill areas for that former a slide area. And it sounds like the decision has been made not to go forward with that at this point. I haven't heard that officially, but I did hear today that they're thinking about not the East Bay, the park, excuse me, the East Bay Municipal Utility District has decided not to go forward. Like I said, I haven't heard that officially, but that's what the current word is. Dennis might know a little bit about that because he participated in that meeting with the group. And then on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, thank you for a successful operations committee meeting. On February 16th, a successful finance committee meeting where we shared information. And then thank you, just Monday, I had got an opportunity to attend the Altamira annual event that they have and brought the different members together and talk about important things like how to work together on different programs. So anyway, that was very nice. Now, the two things I'd like to talk about is, one, we received a letter recently from an individual who has worked very hard to pick up garbage area stuff in the Martin Luther King area. And they're asking that we take a look at, you know, they picked up a lot of it, but there's also always a lot of garbage behind that ends up in that parking area, in that area. It's important to look at that carefully because that's obviously coming in from other areas. So maybe we can take a look at what they're referring to and do a little more research on that. Because we also know that we have good Martin Luther King cleanup programs as well. In fact, I attended one. It was the weekend after Martin Luther King Day because it had been so stormy, the weather the weekend before. So we do very good work on that with volunteers who come in to do the cleanup. But we do also have a letter that we received that I want to make sure if you all haven't had opportunity to read that, you get a chance to read it and turn it over to whoever on staff should be taking a look at that request. And I'm not quite sure who it would be, who we would send that letter over to.
You can just send it to me.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, make sure that you get that. They picked up quite a few number of bags full of the garbage and they would just want to see if more can be done because it does create a situation. But again, it's coming from somewhere. So there's some rules in other communities that probably should be looked at as well. And then the other item is over at the old Lake Chabot quarry land area. There was recent news that there might be a purchase of that land and filling that in. And that the East Bay Municipal Utility District was thinking about doing that. But the word on that is that just the other day, the decision was made that the EBMUD would not be going forward with that project, and that the property is still owned by the original owners, as far as I know. I don't know all the details on that either, but we received. In fact, Dennis and I had a little workshop and we were informed on their concerns. And I'd like to see that now that this situation where East Bay Mud is not taking over this property, that we take a look at that and see how that impacts us. It's, you know, right next door to our lake. So I'll make sure someone gets the information on that as well. And Dennis, I don't know if you wanted to bring anything up on that. We're part of that meeting.
Well, sure, I guess I could do that now. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody's heard of this from the district or anybody's been aware of this from the district or any of my colleagues know about it. East Bay Mud had a plan to replace a lot of their water lines throughout their service area. And what they were going to do is they made an agreement with the folks, I think it's the Lee family, is it, that owns the land at the San Leandro Quarry, which is the San Leandro Quarry is just an extension of Fairmont Ridge. It goes all the way down to Lake Chabot Road. Their plan, and I can't believe this, I didn't hear it from East Bay Mud, but it's out there in the community and it was in our local newspapers. They were going to do between 40 and 80 trucks taking the spoils that they would dig from the trenches and take it and put it in trucks and haul it on Highway 580, take the Estadio Road exit, come through Estadio Road, dump it at the quarry, and then make a loop so that because there were going to be 40 to 80 trucks per day.
Per day.
And it was
Per
the
day.
killer, the thing I just love was, and they casually said 40 to 80 trucks per day for 80 years. 80 years. And these trucks would make a loop because there'd be lots of them coming through. So they would, once they dumped, they would come out Old Lake Chabot Road and drive by our park and then turn right on Fairmont Ridge and go up over and back and make the next loop. This was going to occur for, they'd set up to 80 years worth of doing this. The residents of Bayo Vista were incensed and crazy and just, you know, I have no idea. We didn't hear from East Bay Mud. The city of San Leandro got involved in it when people heard of this, and other people got pretty concerned. And so there were meetings held, and East Bay Mud, I think, had to think about what they were planning. And as Ellen's comments, we heard from the spokesperson today from Bay Vista Homeowners Association that they suspended their plans. I don't know if it's forever, but they did have an exclusive negotiating agreement with the Lee family who owns that quarry. And for history, it was interesting when some of the folks that in my neighborhood that were suggesting that the public safety building on Nike, up in the Nike Hill, was not a good place for it. They immediately wanted to have an alternative, and they went to the Lee family, the same property we're talking about, and it was for sale for $9-point-something million. According to the agreement that once again, it's just from the homeowners association, they were going to sell it to East Bay Mud for $4.2 million. So the price is really coming down. I don't know the entire status or the current status, other than we were told this morning they've suspended their operation. But the question from the community is, hey, Regional Park District, wouldn't you like to stop that and cover the cost of $4.2 million to buy that? Which, in the old days, it was, as Ellen knows, when she was the mayor, they tried to have a development there. It was found it was going to be very profitable. I don't know what that family would have gotten if they could have sold for developers, but there was an earthquake fault going right through it. So it has no use other than maybe a public utility dumping their spoils there for the next 80 years. So there was no reason for us to buy it in the past because it was there. It was open space. We didn't have access to it. But now people are asking, well, they're asking Ellen and I to help them out and purchase it so that will no longer be a threat ever, because if we be a part.
So so we're asking that the Park District take a look at that land and see what that means.
I don't know. Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, I think it would be nice to have an East Bay Mud liaison. I mean, it was just the first we've heard of this.
I don't remember them raising this at our liaison committee that we had last year or at the staff level at our recent meeting. So I'll follow up with East Bay Mud directly and get more information.
Thank you.
Has East Bay Mud brought it to the attention of our staff?
It's possible our planning staff has been tracking it, very possible, but I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Thank you. And someone will be looking at the Martin Luther King issue and the problem of the amount of garbage along the area and who should be participating in that.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that. If you have the letter from the, you said there was a letter that they put together.
Yeah, I actually sent that letter to
Yes.
to Katie because I had an interest in that as well. Because
Okay.
I think Irene Dieter wrote the article in the Patch, and there were some interesting devices there to collect trash. And so I thought this is something we should probably look at. And I asked Katie if there's any grants out there that could be applied to that. So
And that letter was sent and
yeah,
you were CC'd on it
Okay,
by them.
Yeah.
great. Yeah, we'll follow up.
cool.
All right, thank you.
That's it. Okay. Thank you very much. John?
So I participated in the Hike the Hill event, which on it had an advanced component to it. It's an event sponsored by the American Hiking Society and the Partnership for the National Trail System. National Trail System would be all those national trails like our own De Anza Trail, Skyline Trail, PCT, Pacific Crest Trail, all those trails. They have an umbrella organization. They put this on to influence legislation, both for their trails and on more of a macro level. And I did participate on February 9th, an online Zoom presentation on historic trails. So I'd like to continue, being up to date on what's going on with historic trails, because we have the Anza Trail here in our district, which is a national historic trail. The highlight of that, though, was one of the days I went with our lobbyist in DC together. He and I went around to two of our Congress members, Garamendi and DeSaulnier, went to their offices, spoke with their staff members, got a very, as you would imagine, a very good reception. We just do. And they were very attentive, and we had a lot of give and take. And I was able to explain some of the problems we were having with the storms. And he and I both were a good team, I think. I think they appreciated us coming there and talking to them about that. And I appreciated their interest and their attentiveness. And then I did my own field trip on one of the days. I walked out to Rock Creek Park, which is in Washington, D.C., which functions like a regional park, but it's actually run by the National Park Service in DC there. And it's in a big, really large ravine, more like a canyon. And there's lots of trails running through there. They have a road that they close and you can ride your bike on it and that sort of thing. So that was really good experience to see that. And also to realize that the American Discovery Trail happens to transit that park, which as it winds across the United States comes out on district property and crosses many miles of our regional parks. So if you wanted to get on it in Tilden, you could walk to Rock Creek Park. So think about that someday. And during that period, I was there in Washington, D.C. I participated in the National Natural and Cultural Resources Committee meeting, which was my first one on that, and that was very interesting. And then on the 20th, which was, I guess, yesterday, I met with Scott Bartlebow from the Bicycle Trails Council of the East Bay, and we got kind of a get acquainted meeting. And I think we talked for 2.5 hours, just a real brief meeting about just where are we on different aspects, different issues with trails. And I learned a lot from him, and he's actually still sending me stuff. So that was really great. And then this morning, I met with Susan Shu here, and we kind of got acquainted and I learned a lot about what she's up to, and she learned about what I want to be up to. So that was all, just that.
Yes, I'd say I've actually been a little bit busier than I thought I would be in this role. There's just been a lot of interest, which I take as a really positive sign. For example, the Iron Horse Trail is something that keeps on coming up. For me, I know, for example, I somehow ended up in a conversation with a member of Dublin City Council and a member of San Ramon City Council, and there's bridges that are being constructed both in Dublin over Dublin Boulevard and then in San Ramon over Bollinger. And apparently the one in San Ramon, the cost is coming in significantly higher than the one in Dublin. And so that was a big topic of conversation, but then certainly it quickly turned to the Park District and our role or not our role in some of this. So it's been interesting. I've actually been reading a lot about the Iron Horse Trail. So I feel like I'm becoming more of an expert, and I'm really proud of myself. I actually rode my bike along the Iron Horse Trail from my house to the San Ramon Dublin line. I've walked the Iron Horse Trail before, but I've never taken my bike out. So it motivated me to do something a little bit different. But yes, I definitely want to be able to maybe figure out how to have that conversation. I know it's a little bit different, Contra Costa County versus Alameda County with the trail. And I know that on the Alameda County side, it didn't come online until this century, whereas on the Contra Costa side, that was all figured out, in the 1990s, 1980s. So that's something else I want to continue to work on, both in Dublin, Pleasanton, and then the extension in Livermore. But then I also got a lot of inquiries about the cleanup in Sunol and some of the storm damage happening there. So I have some questions in regards to that, just fielding some conversations about that. And then I can also share, again, speaking with some members of Dublin City Council recently, I brought up Doolin Canyon, and I know that we had a meeting with Director Wieskamp back in the fall where we were able to have representatives from Livermore and Pleasanton, but Dublin wasn't able to join us then. So we may want to revisit how to bring Dublin there. And then I know that there's also some newer members of the city councils in Pleasanton and Livermore too, that we may want to consider reaching out to whenever we get that scheduled. And then I can also share, you know, me joining this board did create a vacancy on the Zone 7 board, and they recently did make the appointment previous, she just recently retired. Pleasanton City Council member Kathy Narum has been appointed to the Zone 7 board in the vacancy that I created. So I think that that's really great. And it's important for us to, you know, be aware of this, because I know we talked, Dennis, actually about Del Val Reservoir and the water agencies that depend on Del Val. And it's not just Zone 7, it's also Alameda County Water District and then Santa Clara Valley Water District, which services a lot of Silicon Valley. So I think that it's good to know who those elected representatives are on those water agency boards, especially when we're thinking about Del Val Park. We also had an operations committee meeting actually during this time too, which I thought was interesting. We were able to still do it online, but I guess our next one will be in person. So looking forward to that.
Cool. Thank you. I want to start off by commending our government affairs folks. I was particularly impressed by the general manager's communications packet this month because there are more than 30 support letters from community leaders, elected leadership, most of our stakeholders, leaderships in support of our Department of Transportation federal funding for RAISE grants that would enable us to move forward on several of our regional trail projects. But to look at that bulk of letters that will be shared with Secretary Buttigieg in support of those projects is really amazing. And again, a lot of work, obviously, by government affairs. Thank you. On the 8th, I attended the exec committee on February 11th. Had the pleasure of going on the Black History Month hike at Point Pinole, led by Tilden naturalist Melissa Fowkes, to focus on the African-American leadership that went into and contributed to the success in acquiring Point Pinole, particularly the Dotson family's leadership and the community of Harchester coming together and supporting the efforts of the community and the park district in bringing about Point Pinole and later the Dotson family marsh. A very good turnout for that hike, and appreciate Melissa's work in putting that together. On the 12th, I attended a Park District alum hike on the Bay Trail from Point Isabel to Marina Bay in Richmond on a very busy Bay Trail Sunday afternoon. On the 15th, as Director Mercurio mentioned, we had a very interesting Natural and Cultural Resources Committee meeting. Also on the 15th, that late afternoon, I met with Save Mount Diablo, talk about some of their interest in our endeavors. And I did get a chance to mention that we do have some acquisitions in the pipeline, which Save Mount Diablo is always eager to partner with us upon. And I wanted to mention that Save Mount Diablo is going to have an event, I believe, about a month from now. I want to say March 23rd in Lafayette. And it's going to be a tribute to our former general manager, Robert Doyle, and to our two past board members, Ann Wieskamp and Beverly Lane. So they are putting together one event. Save Mount Diablo is sponsoring in Lafayette. I want to say March 23rd. I'm not exactly sure, but there is going to be a broad public published invitation for that event coming about from Save Mount Diablo. On the 16th, the evening of the 16th, I attended a Point Malati Alliance gathering along the Richmond-San Pablo border at a little event area down in Richmond that I spoke about, I think, a little earlier. They are taking on a campaign to support the establishment of a Point Melati Park. And they have really wonderful T-shirts. I'll bring some when I get a chance. Urging Point Melati Park now. And it's a great group to socialize with on the 16th. On the 19th, lastly, another themed hike. This was Greenbelt Alliance and my second 4-hour plus hike in Briones in the past 4 weeks. Yeah, it's good getting the steps in. And it was led by a Greenbelt Alliance, Ken Lavin, who many of us know, naturalist. And it was focused on newts and fungi, because that's how they roll. And it was a very fun afternoon with that group. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. D.
Let's see, on the 8th, I attended the Alameda County Mayor's Conference, and had 2 items that might be were of a big interest. Was they're considering supporting the convention of the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. Unfortunately, as it was presented, it was in the form that was, because this is an old resolution that was proposed in 1976. So they just asked for some updated language, and it's going to be brought before the mayor's next month. And then they also supported, they passed a resolution to support the educational farm that's being built or being proposed by the Alameda County Fairgrounds Foundation. So they're going to carve out a small section of the county fairgrounds to develop a working farm for educational purposes for kids. So pretty interesting. And then on the 9th, I attended the Lake Merritt Breakfast Club, and we got to meet with Danny Wan from the Port of Oakland. He's now the new CEO. And he was one piece of good news was that he was adamant that the Port of Oakland would be quite enhanced by a ballpark there. And he said that all that space is right now is just the parking lot for containers, and they've got plenty of room to expand elsewhere. And he was gung ho about the ballpark as being there. So he said it would enhance not only the port, but also enhance Jack London Square and the west neighborhood, so West Oakland. So that was great. First time I've met him, and great guy, a lot of energy. Former council member for the city of Oakland. And then on the 12th, I met with constituents from the Rockridge neighborhood. They sit right atop above. They have a nice view of Lake Temescal, and they're adamant about, or their advocacy is very strong regarding the dredging of Lake Temescal. They want to know when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and so told them I would keep them up to date on what progress is. And then also they're concerned about the continued spills of sewage into the lake. We know during the storms, those were inadvertent. I think every sanitary district in the county in California had overruns because of the storms, but there were 2 spills during the dry season. So I'm advocating for continuing our checking in with the city of Oakland to make sure that I know Robert Kennedy is very familiar with the proposed check valve that they were proposing at the outlet there, or inlet into the lake from the sewage system. So if that's a possibility, I'd like to see that continue or restart. And then on the 14th, I attended the operations committee meeting. And then on the 20th, that was last night, I attended the Oakland DD Coalition meeting. And it sounds like, regarding the Bay Trail anyway, it sounds like that section between 7th and 29th Avenues, those industries there, CMAX, Boathouse, there's like 3 territories, there are 3 properties there that negotiations is stalled there for a path through those properties along the water line. So I think at our next meeting next month, we're going to consider possibly just rerouting the trail around those businesses. And it also puts on hold the before approved causeway underneath the Park Street Bridge, because now we don't have a landing. Because those private properties where negotiations have failed so far, we need that landing to get for the underbridge to land in. And so, yeah, that's not so good. But I mean, there'll be a trail of some kind, but I'm gonna have to talk with Lena Tam and from our new Board of Supervisor and see, because those bridges are really old. If those bridges get replaced, there's a possibility of, having a path underneath those bridges if they have to build them new. So who knows? Keep our hopes up there. And then today, we're here. So thank you. I just wanted to, with all the storm damage, I mean, a lot of our trails are damaged to some point. I hope there's I think there's lots of opportunities for volunteer activity. I know there's a lot of volunteers that want to come out and help. And I think we should be designating trails that volunteers can actually go out and do some of that stuff. I know I'm continuing to do that with the city of Oakland through the Friends of Salsa Creek. And they're very enthusiastic about repairing their trails. So if we can get opportunities to get volunteers geared to help us out, that'd be great. So thank you.
Thank you, Dee. Well, I attended the executive committee meeting on the 8th. On the 9th, as was reported before, Ellen and I met with some opponents, of the East Bay Muds San Leandro Quarry filling project. And yes, on the 17th, I attended the pre-board meeting that we have. I visited Robert's Pool in the last couple of weeks. 2.5 months swim season. Does anybody want to venture to say we're going to make that? Or is there any, we are going to make that? Okay, good. Good.
I don't think Lisa's on mic, but
I have confidence.
she just said for the record, we're on schedule. Yes,
As of
yes,
now.
as of right now.
Okay. Okay. Great. It's going to be an incredible project. It's beautiful. The construction manager gave me a tour, and it's going to be an amazing facility, and I truly look forward to it being open. I met with some constituents who were talking about alternative entrances to Vargas Plateau, which we talk about all the time, but it's come to the head now simply because Morrison Canyon Road, if you remember, belongs to the city of Fremont. It was closed as a road. It's now the most beautiful, a really nice, not the most beautiful, it's a very nice hike, but it's closed now, and it's closed by the city of Fremont. So that seems to be indefinite. There's some pretty big slides there. So they were asking if we can try to find an alternative. We know there are alternatives there, and I would hope we can maybe have a Fremont liaison committee meeting, because these are some important issues. And I think that, well, I mean, another constituent asked me about parking around County Hills. We're doing construction there. It's been brought up. You can't park in the neighborhoods, but everybody does. And that's just going to cause lots of consternation unless I can't help that I can't help but think we couldn't agree for a temporary agreement with the city of Fremont to allow parking on, was it Commerce Avenue or something like that out there. I hope we can get a meeting with those guys pretty soon. Also, what else? On a lighter note, I was reading the notes. We're starting job fairs in the Park District, and there's lots and lots and lots of jobs. In fact, I'm told over 200 summer jobs mostly for youth. We're the largest, we claim we're the largest hire or employer of youth in the Bay Area or in our area, in this area. So there's lifeguard jobs, student laborers, recreation leaders, gate attendants, interpretive student aides, public safety student aides. So put out the word. I mean, it's been very, very difficult to get lifeguards and other people to come get jobs. We're publicizing everything. We're having these job fairs. So, but if we all know people, we all do know people. So let's try to get the word out, because it's a very difficult task, and we need to get those groups out there so we can provide good service. I think that's it for me. So we will now move to we move to adjournment, but before that, I think some folks would like to adjourn in memory of some people. So let's start with Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Wasby. I had asked to adjourn in memory of Alameda County Supervisor Richard Valle and former El Cerrito Mayor Janet Abelson. Supervisor Valle was a good friend, mentor, and ally. In addition to his many accomplishments on behalf of the community he served, what impressed me most about Supervisor Valle is his character. He was one of the most principled, kind, generous people I've ever met. He had a deep commitment to lifting up at Promise Youth and was a strong advocate for social justice, labor, and the environment. He lived his values, as well as a successful political career as a county supervisor and Union City Council member. He was a founding member of Centro de Servicios, the oldest Hispanic social service agency in Southern Alameda County, and founder and president of TriSaid Community Recycling, which is California's largest nonprofit recycling company. And I'd like to extend my heartfelt condolences to his wife, his children, rest of his family, friends, and colleagues. Janet Abelson also was a passionate and dedicated advocate, dedicating much of her life to public service. She served on the El Cerrito City Council for 23 years, including a record 5 times as mayor. She was a strong champion for disability access, public transit, environmental sustainability, smart urban planning, and education. I want to extend my heartfelt condolences to her husband, Howard, 5 children, the rest of her family, friends, and colleagues. And certainly both Mayor Abelson and Supervisor Valle will be deeply missed.
That is for sure. Any additional comments on that? They were both great friends in the district. And with that, I would also like to read into the record something that a friend of mine brought forward to us, that February 24th marks the 1-year anniversary of the Russian Federation's invasion of and occupation of Ukraine. As we all know, many gross violations of human rights and war crimes against the Ukrainian people have occurred. And, you know, we share a great heritage with the Ukrainian people, you know, including the Honcharенko family, their farmhouse and their farm up in the place we call Ukrainia up in Garin Park. It's a state landmark, and we have a great relationship with Ukrainian delegations that come and celebrate his and his family's life up there. So I would just hope everyone will remember the Ukrainian people, their great spirit and courage and resilience on this day. So March 23rd is that day of remembrance. So I would like to adjourn in remembrance of the Ukrainians' struggle, Richard Valle, a dear friend of the district, and Janet Abelson also. So with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you. Well done.
Oh, shoot, pardon me. Richard's celebration of life is going to be held this coming Saturday at Veterans Park on Dyer Street in Union City. It starts at 10 o'clock in the morning and there's a service at 11, and everyone's invited.